Conversations with Suzanna, broadcasting live on the World-Herald Live app or on Omaha.com. Catch her every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, empowering you to look for and accept the good in everything. The future is bright. We'll take a look at what's to come in yours. This is Conversations with Suzanna.
Exactly where you need to be is right here, right now, because this is the show that will empower you to go into your tomorrows looking a little bit smarter, a little bit together, make you look smart around the water cooler or around the dinner table. You're going to impress your kids with what you know. Today's conversation, and this is Conversations with Suzanna, is going to be one that is a little bit different, but a little bit more fun, a little different and fun, but also give you some knowledge about the Omaha World-Herald of all things, and our superstar who's in the studio. If you're looking, he's the gentleman in the cream-colored shirt and the unique tie. We're talking to Steve Jordan. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Good afternoon.
I was originally having you in to talk about taxes, but once you sent me your little history about who you are, I thought, well, you know, the readers probably don't know how dedicated the Steve Jordan is. I mean, to think that you've been at the newspaper since you were, tell me about coming to the nuspaper in 1967.
Yeah, I mean, I was an intern that year, and I was 20, and so I was studying journalism in Lincoln, and lucky to get a internship, which actually paid a little salary and had a scholarship attached to it. So,
wow,
came that summer, worked here, and I wrote some part-time stuff while I finished my senior year, and then got on the staff full-time the following spring. So.
Wow.
Yeah.
So here's the question. Do you remember any of those first articles you did?
Oh, sure. Yeah. I remember doing, I think the first byline I got was, downtown Omaha had a branch of the Job Corps, and they ran that Job Corps out of the Paxton Hotel. It used to be the Paxton Hotel. It's now been redeveloped into condos, but I did a story on the Job Corps in downtown, and I think they wanted a young person to talk to the young people that are in the Job Corps, and that was my first story downtown.
That was all about relatability, and
yep.
And right now you're the business editor.
Yeah, not exactly editor. I'm the business reporter. I was business editor for 10 years. Deb Shanahan's runs we call it the money section, but it's business news that we do.
So you have actually been a newspaper person for 40-some years.
You know, I got a picture of myself, and it looks like I'm about 8 years old with my family, and we're going somewhere because we're all dressed up, and I'm carrying the funnies in my hand. So I've got the newspaper back then. So I don't know. It's hard to tell when exactly I was started as a newspaper person.
And was this your dream to be on a newspaper, to write newspaper?
No, I think it got to be. I mean, in school, I remember working on some stuff in junior high they had a yearbook sort of thing, and then I was a yearbook editor in high school in Bellevue, and I wrote some stuff for the student newspaper, wrote for the student newspaper in Lincoln, and so pretty much focused on being a reporter of some kind or other.
And what makes you like the job?
It's you get to meet all sorts of interesting people, but I think the focus is on the readers, and try to keep in mind what it is they should know, or they want to know, or that would be good for them to know. And if you can keep the readers in mind, when I write stories, I'm writing something that I'm hoping people are going to read, and a lot of times you can help them with their lives, or you can explain things how they're going, or you can entertain them, or some way reach out to the readers, and that's the focus is the people who look at the paper and look online, see the stories. And
knowledge is power. How you get it. We hope they come to the radio station, that we hope they read the paper, but knowledge is power. I like that. One of the things that as a writer, do you write from a perspective, or do you not? Because I'll be honest with you, some media I think are pro one way and pro another way, and when they get on the stories, it's pro another way. And how do you, as a reader, how do you know what perspective you're coming from?
I mean, I have background in various things that I bring to the story, but what it does is help me understand what questions they ask and what points to bring out on the story. But again, if you keep the reader in mind, I mean, there's all sorts of readers who have all sorts of viewpoints, and the idea is to give them the information that they can use and make their opinions, and if it's accurate and if it's fair and if it has the viewpoints that if it's 1, 2, 5, 10 viewpoints in a story, you want to get those viewpoints out there so that there's a clear understanding of what's going on. I think World-Herald is pretty clear in its news department that we're not pushing a point of view of one kind or another. We're trying to be accurate and objective in reporting it, and that doesn't mean that you don't understand things and you can have opinions on your own, but you want to get everybody's opinion out there.
Well, I appreciate that as a reader. I appreciate that as a listener. Where sometimes I get disturbed when, if I might say, Dan Rather, when he made up things. Things like that just sort of taints the news, does it?
Yeah, I mean, you got to be careful that the Rolling Stone story about the campus incident and
isn't
those
that
things,
horrible?
those things,
they destroyed a whole.
Yeah, they can really hurt credibility, and it's the report that came out this week was interesting because it said some of the basic things that you should do, like as far as checking facts and giving the other side a chance to respond and covering all the bases, so to speak, didn't happen in that case. And I understand. I heard the reporter talking about the sensitivity involved in a subject like that, but it does the sources a disservice if you're not following those basic principles.
And it costs so many victims, doesn't it?
Yeah, cause more problems than there were before.
So now, if I understand this right, your father was in what branch of the service?
He was in the Air Force. He was a pilot dating back to World War II, and served in World War II. Was out briefly. Got a master's degree from the University of Michigan. Called back to Korea, like so many other young men were, and then served up until 1975, I believe it was. He retired. And retired out here at Offutt. He was stationed here at Offutt 3 times. The first time when I was in high school, so that's how I ended up here. And
so, as a child of an Air Force, you were taken to several cities?
A little bit. I mean, I lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and then for a short time in Parkersburg, West Virginia, where happened to be where I was born. My grandparents lived. Then we were in Okinawa for 2 years. Then Salina and Topeka, Kansas, and then Bellevue. So we moved a little bit, not maybe as much as some people did.
My husband is not in the service, but we moved a lot. And what I think for a child, it helps them to learn how to make new friends, and you can reinvent yourself every time. How old were you when you went to Okinawa? Because that must have been a real.
Yeah, I was in 3rd grade, and from 3rd grade to 5th grade, and yeah, it was a change. But on the other hand, it's kind of mixed because you're living in an American military base. So right. You're going to an American school. You're going to, shopping is a lot similar. You're in a Western style house for the most part. Although we did live in a Quonset hut for part of a year, which was a lot of fun for us.
What was a Quonset hut?
Oh, a Quonset hut is made out of tin or corrugated steel, and it's kind of be like a tin can cut in half, and you're living on the bottom half of it, and it's.
And you thought that was fun?
Oh yeah, well, it was kind of like camping out. We were in 4th grade, so
okay,
I was probably 8 or 9.
And what made your parents take you to a Quonset hut?
Because
they were service.
Yeah, well, that was the house available at the base where we had to be in, and he was stationed there, and so my mother used to say that. She would go somewhere and she would hear other wives complaining that this was wrong or they were too far from home or something wasn't exactly right, and she said, you you sign up, the wives sign up for military service, the spouses sign up for military service just as much as the members of the military, and she kind of attached some duty to what she was doing as well as what my dad was doing.
Well, it is a family thing. I don't think anymore in any job your family is not involved. I mean, I see politicians and the stuff they go through and the stuff their family go through just amazes me. And I love the dedication someone has to being very good in their job. So you like writing, and you started writing at what age?
I remember writing a story when we were on Okinawa. We were in a typhoon at one point, and we happened to be living in the Quonset hut, and my dad, and they're held down. They have these cables that would hold them to the ground. And but they were sitting up on blocks, and my dad was afraid the dang thing was going to blow away. So
I would be too.
He
yes.
got us. He put us in the car and drove us to a barracks, a BOQ, like a concrete building or concrete block building, sort of in the middle of the storm. And the next morning the eye of the storm went over, and we went and had breakfast, and we went back in and watched the rest of the storm go by. The other half, and I wrote a account of that ended up being published in one of the newspapers, and that was when I was in 5th grade, so I would have been probably 9 or 10.
So from the eyes of a child,
yeah.
Wow, that had to be horrific. That had to be horrific.
Well, in a way, it's kind of fun. It's an adventure, and you actually feel pretty safe because your parents are there and they're taking care of you and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, now, as I understand this also, and really we will talk about taxes in a few minutes. Trust me on this one.
Right.
As I understand this, you're a father of how many children?
2 kids.
2 kids, and where are they?
My son is in the Marine Corps. He's a musician with the Marines Drum Bugle Corps in Washington, D.C.
And I'd like to go hoo-ha, because my husband was a Marine.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
That's hoorah.
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 My husband
not
always,
hoorah.
Hoorah.
Don't let your husband say hoo-ha.
He doesn't. But I got to tell you, we had a woman on the other day who says men should cry. And my husband cries every time there's a Marine song. I mean, that the Marines make a family out of you.
Right,
it's just
right.
amazing. So how old is he, and where is he?
He's 41, and he's in Washington, D.C., and married there in Washington, D.C. And then my daughter is a botanist. Her family, they live in the Berkeley area right now. She's doing postdoc work at Bucknell University in Pennsylvania. So
Wow.
Wow.
So you raised 2 well-educated, smart children.
She wants to be a professor, so that's her career goal.
Marvelous. And you have a granddaughter?
I have a granddaughter who's 14, and she's moved around quite a bit. She was born in Lincoln. They spent 4.5 years in Germany while my daughter and her husband were studying, and then they were studying
over there.
They were studying in Heidelberg, and so she really got a different kind of education or different foreign experience than we did, because they were living in town, and she went to regular German school from kindergarten to 4th grade, and so her schoolwork was in German, and she picked it up like children pick up languages.
Wonderful.
And then she spent, they were 2 years at University of Florida in Gainesville, and then out to California.
Wow. So well established. I think sometimes in our country we don't teach our kids enough how to speak in other languages. I think. Oh yeah, it'd
be great if everybody could do it, and you really need to do it. Kindergarten's a great time to learn a language.
And here's the other thing: you would not go to. I went to Belarus in Russia, and you would not go there. They all speak 3 languages. They start the children real young, and it seems like we have a problem with communication, but the communication that we do through the newspaper. There's universal communications, pictures and signs and things like that. What would you say your strength as a newspaper man would be?
I guess one basic thing is that I'm still interested in what goes on and see lots of stories that need to be.
So you think curiosity is your
curiosity,
thing?
but you recognize something that could be a story, and probably there's so many of them you don't have time to do them all, but you can. Here we've got a pretty good sized staff, and I can find other people. I saw a thing today about some American flyers who were captured in Vietnam, and they ended up in a prison camp in Cuba. Okay, what is the?
How did that come about? Yeah.
Well, the Cubans were on the North Vietnamese side during the Vietnam War, and they ran a prison camp there in North Vietnam, and then but they also brought some prisoners to Cuba. They were fellow communist country, and there's never been a good accounting of what happened to those Americans that were in prison in Cuba. So that's an issue today with Cuban relations being normalized or moving along that direction. How does that come out? There's a story there.
I think one of the great things and why I bring people in the studio is that we all have stories. And there was one friend who told me, I said, what do you want people to think about you when you're passing? And he said, I had great stories.
Yep.
I had great stories. I would like to think I empower and I have great stories. And we're really here for you because you are the guy who can help us out there understand a little bit of the IRS and getting together. If it's understandable, how many new codes do you know each year? How many new laws?
It's something that's tinkered with all the time, and every time they pass a tax revision, it's you can call it the accountant's full employment law because and the lawyers they love to have things more complicated than the average guy can understand.
That's cute.
And I'll talk about taxes, but I just want to make sure the listeners understand that I'm not a trained tax person. I've not been through the IRS tax training.
We just want to come from the common sense.
Right,
and it seems to be gone from taxes a lot. Common sense has to do.
Every piece of the tax code has a reason. There's incentives that the government wants you to do. They want you to support charitable organizations, so they allow deductions. They want they want to support farmers, so there's special treatment for some farm income. And there's a lot of public policy tacked into the IRS rules. And
could we ever go to a flat rate? Do you think?
You could.
I really love the flat rate, the easy understanding.
Yeah,
everybody.
I suppose, but the principle, one of the principles of taxation is that the people who can afford to pay taxes ought to pay more. It's called progressive taxation, and the guy who's making enough to buy food and housing for the family and transportation to a job and save something for kids, and that's the limit of their income. The thinking is it's not fair to tax him the same percentage as the guy who's making so much money he doesn't even know what to do with it. So
but those who make a lot of money get to support the younger ones. I mean, I'm always like, next week we're going to be talking about Buffett, and I love how humble he is, how he's in the same house. There's so much about him, but and
he's in favor of progressive tax. It was during Ronald Reagan's term that they lowered the top tax rate, and his argument is the way he makes his income through capital gains and some of the things that are encouraged. I mean, they encourage people to do investing, which is good, but the way it works out is his tax rate is lower than some of the salaried people who work for him.
Yeah,
and that's he raises the fairness question, which is something that Congress always wrestles with. We're
going to take a little break. I'm very honored to have Steve Jordan in the room with me. He is a guru in the way of the paper. He knows all things. We'll come back, and I see you have a newspaper article there that says, have a little fun with income taxes. We ought to talk about that. That sounds a little crazy. This is Conversations with Suzanna. You're hearing us live 12 to 1 on the World-Herald Live app, and you are exactly where you need to be. Yes, this is Conversations with Suzanna. It's heard live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the World-Herald Live app, We're here from 12 to 1. And then we're also on the omaha.com/Suzanna. If you go to that app, you get to see how nice this news reporter looks. We've got the white hair. I tell everybody that when Moses went up on the mountain, he had brown hair. When he saw God, it turned white. So you and I have seen the big guy, as far as I'm concerned. So we're talking taxes, and you're showing me right here. When was this newspaper article out?
This was Sunday. This was a Sunday. In the
Sunday's Omaha World-Herald section has a sign that says, "Have a little fun with income taxes." Now that just sounds crazy. Go ahead, tell me about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's part of it's like it tells where to go for help for taxes, but part of it was a multiple choice quiz on to see how much you might know about taxes.
Okay, give me a couple of quizzes.
Let's see. Here's a short one. What does it cost the IRS to collect $100 in taxes? Does it cost $10, $2.45, 41 cents, or 89 cents? What's it cost?
I would
Any
say
idea?
the first one.
You'd say it costs $10 to collect $100.
What do you think?
The right answer is 41 cents. It costs 41 cents to collect it. So that point being that the IRS is fairly efficient in terms of collecting.
Wow,
collecting
they
money.
really are. 41%.
41 cents for
41
$100.
cents.
For $100.
Dollars, yeah, that would be .40. Well, all right, give me another question. I did so bad on that one, Steve. Make me look good.
All right, let's see. Okay, the IRS got 146 million tax returns last year. How many of those were filed electronically? Out of 146 million, is it a million six, 59 million, 44 million, or 33 million?
I would say 1,000,006.
And I think, again,
I'm wrong?
the answer is 44 million out of 146.
Wow.
So there's a lot of people filing electronically stuff. And it's...
My husband does it electronically.
Yeah, I want to do a disclaimer here that maybe I already said that already.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're covered, Steve.
I'm really
You're
not
covered.
an expert, but yeah, the electronic forms will do some of the math for you, for instance, and theoretically gets to the IRS. I think gets to the IRS quicker than the mail, and when it's down electronically, it might get processed a little quicker than if you do it by hand, and somebody's got to enter the numbers that way. That's if you want your return processed quickly.
If you get a return.
If you owe the government money, you might as well have them process it slowly.
That's exactly right. Here's my question, though. I've heard stories about people stealing income tax. Is that real? And making up new income tax? Is that?
They probably can. There's probably some way to be a fraudster on taxes. File somebody else's return and try to get their refund or something like that.
Wow. Or go to their mailbox before they get home.
Yeah, and you can you can probably spot an IRS check if you're doing that. But they'll also deposit money
Directly.
electronically. Yeah, you just give them a bank account number But a lot of people don't want to give the government their bank account number. So
we're afraid of the IRS, aren't we? We're afraid of.
There's a little bit of that. I mean, you don't want to get a call that says, "Hi, I'm from the IRS. Would you come down and talk to us?"
We've had a couple calls.
Would you come down and talk to us about your taxes? And
we've had those calls, and these are just actually people working for a living. And sometimes we make them as big monsters, and they're really just trying to keep this government rolling. I believe in taxes. I know that sounds crazy, but sweet Jesus, we get our things mowed. We get, not mowed, but snow shoveled and all of that. We get our streets taken care of. We get our garbage taken away. I mean, yes, I'll pay for that.
Taxes are the price you pay for living in a civil society.
It really is. It really is. So how do I go about being able to find a good tax preparer? Are they real if they're in the Walmart kiosk? How do I tell? Because there could be scammers if I'm thinking about this right.
I suppose there could be if somebody holds himself out as a tax expert, but everybody who's a tax preparer has a number that's registered, and you can go to the IRS.gov and look up those numbers to see if that's actual person who's passed whatever qualification they say they have. If it's a new person, I wouldn't mind doing that kind of a checkup to see.
I would think that would be smart to do, even if they're sitting somewhere in the middle of a store.
Yeah, every tax preparer has a number, has an IRS number that is registered with them. So that's one quick way to check.
Is there like a badge or something? But those, I mean, you see these stores where these people copy those. So, you know.
Yeah, if you can check out their number at the IRS.gov site, I think that's probably as good a way to do it as possible.
So first time filling out my taxes, what do I need to know? Any simple things that I can do?
Starting with IRS.gov, and it'll walk you through the website pretty quickly, and it'll say here's how you file, and give you some options like there's the e-filing system, and you click on you get to the website and you click on a site, and then it kind of walks you through it. There's a thing called Free File that, particularly if your income below $60,000, there's Free File software. If it's above free filing, and if you're above $60,000, there's a different set of software that helps you free file.
But the government will help us do this. We don't always have to hire someone unless you have a.
Don't always have to hire someone.
Yeah.
If it's complicated and particularly if you're doing deductions and you have different sources of income or those kind of things, it's very easy to get baffled by the forms. I happen to have a very simple tax return these last few years, and even at that, it's very tricky to. There's a lot more. I mean, compared to say 10 years ago, there are a lot more worksheets where you have to fill in a bunch of numbers, do some calculating. You can do it if you've got high school math in your head. You can probably do the calculations, but it can be tricky.
Well, I want to leave our conversation with the one quote you said earlier, that the new tax codes are made for who?
It's kind of a joke. I mean,
it's
the government,
not a joke.
The government believes that they're making a good public policy decision, and they're supporting all the things we need, the armed forces and
and God knows we want them. I want those police on the street. I want those.
Yeah, but it's so convoluted that they'll call it the Accountants Full Employment Act or something like that, I guess.
I love that, because it is deal. Thank God the George, my husband, takes care of my taxes. I would not being linear, and you do need someone who's linear who's going to do this.
Yeah, you think it through from beginning to end, and it can. One thing a tax preparer, if you have the certified tax preparer do the returns, and if you've got the right person, this is one of the things they're supposed to do. If there comes up a question about a deduction or a question about it, the way it's reported, they'll come in with you and help you talk to the IRS about how it was prepared. So you're not alone there trying to figure out trying to negotiate with an IRS examiner.
Marvelous.
That's part of what you pay for these when you pay a preparer.
Thank you for taking us through the beginning steps, but better thanks. Thank you for letting us know who Steve Jordan is. Pretty exciting. I'm going to look up Kwanzaa hats. I'm going to look up all of that things. What a great, great individual you are, and I'm so proud to be in the same area as you are. This is Conversations with Suzanna. We're going to come back, but next week, I'm having you back, Steve. Is that okay with you?
Yep.
Next week, we're going to talk about your book and Berkshire. So you'll want to tune in next Wednesday, same time, same back channel, here on the World-Herald Live app and at omaha.com/Suzanna. Thank you again, Steve, for coming in.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under
are exactly where you need to be. This is Conversations with Suzanna. We're heard on the World-Herald Live app. We're here 12 to 1. You can always also find us at Omaha.com, Suzanna. And you will see the beautiful woman who's sitting across from me today in this. What color are we calling your top?
I don't know if it's pink or orange or a combination.
Chad, do you have a guess? No, Chad's not going to. Typical male, not going with the colors. I have Katherine here.
Yes.
Welcome to the studios, Katherine.
Thank you so much for having me, Suzanna.
Okay, now let's talk. The reason I got you, and this is going to be, God brings me whatever I need when I need it. I was calling your doctor about being on the show because someone at the newspaper said she was awesome.
Yes, she's phenomenal. I work for Dr. Ford. She's a private allergist located in Bellevue.
Yeah.
And she was unavailable.
Yeah, don't need to worry about that. But you said, by the way, I'm with young professionals, which are...
It's called the Bacchanalian Society of Omaha, and we try to engage young professionals in the Omaha and surrounding areas to be involved with nonprofit work and volunteering at an earlier than traditional age.
What is the traditional age?
When I think about, people attending galas and fundraisers, it's people that have that type of expendable income that can spend, $5,000 on a table.
Right.
And for people right out of college and a couple of years after, that's just not feasible right now. Mm-hmm. So we're just trying to, I don't know if there's a set age, but like our board is ages 24 to 33. That's kind of who we're aiming for.
Okay. And what was the word you used that I want you to say again? Because it coincides with taxes. If you do that, what is the word you said?
Philanthropy.
Now tell me what that word means.
Nonprofit involvement is with your tax connection. If you donate to nonprofits, you can always write it off. And with us especially, we give 100% of proceeds to our chosen beneficiary, which are featured 501c3 local nonprofits.
100%?
Yep, of ticket sales, which is...
Of ticket sales?
Mm-hmm.
How can that be? Let's just talk. How can that be? Because one thing, number one, you give them wine and hors d'oeuvres, right?
Mm-hmm. Basically, the board, we have a board of directors. It's 10 strong right now. And we each pay dues for every event, which gives us a little bit of a budget. Most things we try to get donated. We all have different connections. We're all in different fields. So someone gets florals donated. Someone gets, tickets donated. It's pretty great how it works out. And so far we've been covering the costs out of our own pocket because we'd like to be able to say we're giving 100% of proceeds to the beneficiary. And when you buy your ticket, you can see that because it goes right to their website. You can see that it's going to their PayPal account. We're not even handling the money, which I think is pretty rare.
Pretty rare indeed. Pretty rare indeed. Who started the Bach
movement?
Yes.
It actually started in Cincinnati. I had a friend, my good friend Zach is the president of the Bacchanalian Society. I'm the vice president. And he went to school at Miami of Ohio, and Cincinnati had the first Bacchanalian, and he thought it was a great idea. They sell out of venues of like 800 people, so theirs is a little bit bigger than us for now. And when you're
beginning, how old are you?
We're just a year old.
Okay.
In March. So we've had 3 very successful events so far.
Go ahead, finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. And when he moved back, he kind of noticed that there was a little bit of that was missing. He really remembered how much fun he had and how nice it was to meet other young professionals that cared about their community. So he decided to export the idea to Omaha. We pay them a licensing fee to use the name Bacchanalian Society. And we're really excited with how much growth we've even seen in that 1 year.
Well, and it is about giving back, isn't it? It is about networking.
Yes.
Networking and giving back. Why would you say that you, Katherine, donate? Why would you say it donates? I
think it's really important to be involved in my community. I traditionally did political marketing and volunteering. And as I've gotten older, I find that what kind of feeds my soul more is being involved this way. So I have great networks. I went to Creighton. I have a lot of good friends and successful friends that way. So my talents just kind of lend themselves very well to this type of event.
So I'm a huge giver. I order $2 bills to give out $2 bill tips.
Okay.
And I give the tips as my tithing. And the reason I tithe is, in my mind, that God says, give to a poor man and he'll return the treasures to you. Mm-hmm. So there is something very, very worthwhile in tithing, isn't it?
And I agree with that mentality. I think I'll touch on karma. I do believe in karma. I think that, if we're putting out positive things in the world, it keeps, especially in Omaha, the young professionals here engaged and happy and, knowing they're making a difference and having a really good time while they're doing it. So
marvelous. So now how does one become a group, if you're a group that wants to have an event?
How do people attend it, or how do they start their own?
How do they say, like you've done one with the food bank?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So to be a featured beneficiary, we have a tab on our website, which is Bach Omaha, BACH Omaha.com, and it says beneficiary application. If you can answer all of those questions and if you fit the criteria, we will vote on it as a board. Okay.
So, and now are you... Your first year, you had 3 successful events.
Yes.
Is that what you're planning, or are you planning more each year?
We are probably going to stick, because it's young professionals, we're going to stick to 3 events a year, fall, winter, and spring. Mm-hmm. And venues are actually cheaper then, too, because, as I said, it's very expensive to throw these events, and we're working really hard to keep costs low. Mm-hmm. And there's always a million weddings in the summer, too. So we're keeping it to 3, and that's what we're going to stick to. We call the big events gatherings. So it's the spring gathering of the Bacchanalian Society of Omaha.
Okay. So you have a gathering coming up, as I understand this.
We do. We have our next one, and we actually had the space donated, which is phenomenal.
Which is where?
The Pella at the Blackstone, which is in the Blackstone district, up and coming, awesome area. And right by UNMC, it's about 42nd and Farnham, and it's on June 4th. And that beneficiary is the Omaha Healthy Kids Alliance, which are located in Dundee, and we're very excited to work with them.
Marvelous. So are you a mother?
No.
Is that, are you married?
Not yet. I am in a wonderful relationship, though.
Uh-huh. So we can't farm you out. We can't say no an auction or for
no date auction. I actually met my significant other at the first Bacchanalian event, though.
No,
I did.
So, like-minded people working like-minded ways for the betterment of the world. It's got to be a good relationship.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So
okay, marvelous. So, as we begin to run down all of this, so how does one join the Bach?
You can check us out. We have a Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and then our website, which links to all of those, as I said earlier, is bachomaha.com. Ticketing is right on there. You can learn a little bit more about us. We explain the rules of the wine competition.
What are the rules? What is a wine competition? I've just found out my favorite wine is on a screw tab, so I would not be one.
It's wine snobbery is not allowed. Okay. You'd be surprised. We want to make it.
That's good.
We want to make it open to everybody. And while we do appreciate when people are going to bring really nice bottles of wine, the wine that won the second event, which the feature was West Coast Whites, was a $10 bottle from Cubby's right down the street.
Really?
So you'd be surprised what's going to win.
So these people put these wines in glasses and you get to try them all, or what
basically
happens? Or do you have judges?
No, everyone's a judge. So essentially,
everyone's a judge.
Yes, it's teams.
So this is a team thing.
It is. It's teams of 1, 2, or 3, and that team is responsible for bringing 3 of the exact same bottle of the chosen wine varietal.
Tribune, the plane left in Indianapolis Airport around 11 p.m. Monday. Hit heavy fog over central Illinois, authorities said. Around 12:15, radar lost contact with the plane. According to the sheriff's office, a search was launched, and a Bloomington police officer discovered the wreckage in a field northwest of the airport. It was determined that there were no survivors. 2 members of the athletic department were killed. The university said Tory Ward and Aaron Leach were on the Cessna that were killed.
So it was their head coach or
No. Associate basketball coach and deputy athletic director.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming that Tory Ward was the deputy athletic director and Aaron Leach was the associate basketball coach, I think. It doesn't say it on here. Of course,
sad, man.
Transportation Safety Board is investigating it. It's, as we always say, it's much safer to fly than it is to drive, especially in some cities. But occasionally, bad luck. And those guys most of them are trained or qualified to fly without instruments. You have to on those small planes, but damn, horrible when it happens. Micah Murtis, who does our list for the World-Herald, did a list, and I think they're going to do it for every part of the city. 15 things only Omaha Midtowners should know. What is the name of the part of Chicago you're from?
The South Side? Like South Suburb?
There's no town area. It's like Aurora, nothing like that.
No. We're South Suburb, Southwest Suburb.
Southwest Suburb.
Mm-hmm.
Is there stuff in that area that only people that are from that area would know about?
I would think it'd be more like South Side. It's probably more South Side, West Side, North Side, broken up like that.
Okay.
So there's things that only South Side people know or get,
right,
as opposed to North Side
right,
and West Side.
Like I know the breakup of Philly pretty well,
mm-hmm,
and I know there are parts of Philly where they only eat Primo sandwiches. But the other part of Philly only eat a different brand of sandwiches, whereas, that kind of division kind of thing.
Yeah, so that's north. That's mostly north and south. The west side's a little hairy. We'll put it nicely.
Oh,
the
really?
west side's
that's the dangerous area?
That's the hairy neighborhoods.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I always thought it was south.
No, well, yeah, it is, but like where Derrick Rose is from, like it's like southwest. That's more like the west side of the city.
Where was Isaiah from? What was that project called that he lived in? He grew up in
Cabrini Green.
Cabrini Green, yeah.
That's
where's that?
That's south side.
That's south side. Yeah, that's what I.
But they've knocked that down.
Yeah, that's gone.
So.
Yeah, most of the projects across the country have been knocked down. Thank goodness. This is a list of things in Midtown. If you live in Midtown, you'd know. The first one was the voice of the ticket-taking machine at Midtown Crossing sounds like Sigourney Weaver, and I never thought of it before, but it does.
I don't know what Sigourney Weaver's voice sounds like.
Yeah,
it's not like one of those famous
if you
voices.
hear it now, like after this, every time I go there now and I hear it, I'm going to think Sigourney Weaver.
Okay.
In a city filled with good historic neon signs, Leavenworth Street has some of the best. It's true. Look at Bronco's sign. That is a great neon sign. And there's La Casa's. It's a little Italian guy, Luigi, up on there. That's pretty cool. Blackstown District, yeah. Farnham. Oh, yeah, this is true. So this is the little roundabout thing that you have near the Clarkston Hospital, this Midtown Bank. Now, though, Farnham Street is two-way. So it used to be it was only one-way coming this, so you had to make a little curve to go up on the Harney. Well, this should just be going straight now. So people who aren't from here or from there are like, why the hell can't I just go straight? Anyway. Then they argue over what coffee shop is the best. Where's the other one that I like? A lot of people that live in Midtown wonder, when is the Dundee Theater going to open again? Because the sign has said closed for remodel now for more than a year. I love this little theater. It's in my neighborhood. I saw Jaws there when they brought it back. Saw Kill Bill 1 and 2 there. I want it to come back, but so far nothing's happened. It's kind of sad. And then number 15, which is pretty funny from Micah, nothing exists west of 72nd in the Dodge Target. We don't go there. We don't talk about it. People in Midtown don't like West Omaha.
Why?
Because they think people in West Omaha are arrogant and want this big old house, and they got to have this. Like, most of the homes out there in West Omaha are probably about the same price as the ones in Midtown, but they're huge and they're new and they got no trees. So people in Midtown are like, well, we got trees, we got life, we got real family and community here. You guys live out there and every house looks the same land. It's a real big thing.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's real
animosity. I didn't know
people,
Omahans hate each other.
There's a Twitter page called West O Problems on Twitter. You should follow it.
Is it like rich white people problems? Is
kind of, but not just white.
Well, right, but
whoever's out there.
Yeah.
We don't care. If they allow black people, I'm not sure. But anyway.
If you're black, you can't go west of 72nd.
What are you doing? What are you doing out here? Why did I get pulled over? Well,